Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Daily Mail article. Ex-Director of National Intelligence claims President Obama knew, along with mashed potato brains, knew about Clinton's campaign to undermine Trump, obtain data from his servers. John Ratcliffe, the Director of National Intelligence during Trump's administration, states that there's enough evidence in Durham's Russia probe to indict multiple people. Now, when you ask any Democrat, well, how do you know that a hostile foreign power wanted Trump as president? Well, we know that from James Clapper. We know that from John Brennan. We know that from James Comey. Well, all of these people were partisan actors, intel officials, who had it in for Trump. They were not unbiased. Now, they'll say the same thing about John Ratcliffe. The problem, however, is that the burden of proof was on them for 5 years. They couldn't prove anything, yet they made endless claims. The Durham probe has already indicted 3 people on setting up and framing Trump, specifically because these people lied in order to obtain information or keep investigations going or hurt and harm the Trump campaign. So that's the difference between the Mueller probe special counsel and all the investigations into Trump, Southern District of New York, Stormy and Avenatti, who's now in prison, his tax returns, what else? They can't find anything on Trump because he didn't commit a crime. So if they're not pretending that his tax returns are the holy grail of corruption, they're then saying, well, he elevated the he inflated the worth of his real estate holdings in New York, the most expensive city in the country. So they keep on going from one baseless claim to another. They can't find anything. And now you have an intel official, okay, the same position as James Clapper, saying, yeah, these people set up and framed Trump, and they committed crimes. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Sometimes people say, well, where are you getting this from? This is the Daily Mail. Also, my last segment, I list the links. It was an ABC News article. It was an ABC News and I believe a Reuters article, but there were 2 articles below in the description. That was below the information on Bitcoin. And that information is there because I do believe that cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, are going to tank. I think that the stock market is going to have a catastrophic, devastating crash. We're seeing turmoil, the turmoil that I predicted in my article in the Federalist. That's in the pinned comment and the description. We're seeing that taking place right now. Also, really quickly, people say, well, you know, inflation is up globally. How is that Biden's fault? And I'm not speaking to the viewer. I'm speaking to the imaginary, morally superior, wonderful, beautiful liberal Democrat. You imbecile. Nobody is blaming mashed potato brains Biden for the inflation rate in Italy or Spain or the UK. They're blaming him for the inflation rate in the US just because those other countries did exactly what we did. End economic activity for a year and a half and then continue to obsess over you-know-what. That doesn't mean that he's absolved. Yes, it's true. Tanking the economy was a democratic policy based on the advice and expertise of very smart people, really intelligent, amazing people. We're not going to talk too much about that, but I addressed that in my Federalist article. So you opened up a Pandora's box of problems when you pumped $10 trillion into the economy through fiscal and monetary stimulus. But when you go into the presidency wanting to combat climate change, after you've ended economic activity, that was one of the biggest mistakes Biden made. Then he went to battle with the oil and gas industry immediately before the geopolitical crisis that involves oil and gas in Europe. We can go on. There's an endless list of things that Biden did. He didn't focus on economic growth. He focused on a bucket list of ideological things he wanted to accomplish in Build Back Better. That's why Build Back Better was completely tanked by Manchin. We can go on forever, but yes, inflation in this country is directly Biden's fault. Just because it's happening globally doesn't absolve him of what's... If the inflation rate was moving upwards somewhat. You could say, well, it's not Biden's fault. I mean, it's a global thing. But you go from 2%, around 2% in 2019, to what, 4%? About 4% or so the next year, and Trump's last year, which is, Democrats and media took control and said, you must do this, we can't open up, it's too soon, Trump is not taking the advice of very smart people. Those were Democrats and media pushing. And then it goes from about 4 to 8%, and gas prices go from what? Less than $3 or around $3 to now $4 to $5 to $6 in certain locations. So yeah, you can't absolve everything bad is not the fault of Democrats, but everything, like we had a great economy under Trump. We had gas prices at below $3. Inflation is at around 2%. Economic growth that was fantastic. We had real wages up. Real wages are down now. And even though wage growth is up because of inflation, and everything was Trump's fault. The media was the sky was falling with Trump being installed by the Kremlin, which we're finding out was a complete and well, we already knew. If you watch this channel and if you heard me speak the past 4 or 5 years, I was saying everything was nonsense. The Steele dossier, when it came out in like 2016, late 2016, I said was complete and utter nonsense. And the same journalists behind the Steele dossier are yet again pumping more absurd, fabricated memos because they obtained information from our hostile foreign adversary. So it's very easy if you're an adversary of this country to manipulate liberal, wonderful, morally superior liberal journalists who want to just pump more absurd information and divide the country even further along myths and hoaxes and bogus, nonsensical, irrational narratives. Nobody was installed by any other country because of Facebook ads. Okay? And if the DNC was hacked, it was allegedly to inform the whole world that Bernie Sanders was cheated. Everything points back to Democratic corruption. So anyway, we'll have... watch H.A. Goodman, or no, the Stock Market Crash channel. That's below in the pinned comment. I'll be doing more segments on that channel very soon. But they're now, they live in a fantasy world where because inflation is high in other countries, that absolves Biden. It's like, no, Biden is directly responsible for gas prices, for inflation, for the economic growth that we're not experiencing, for all of these problems. Okay? He wasn't, his policies, Democrats love to talk about their policies. He doubled imports of crude oil from where? Oh, Russia. Even PolitiFact says that. Okay, and that's why he wanted to transform the nation's economy into, to combat climate change immediately after they ended economic activity. There's things that I could... I'm speaking about things in a roundabout way, in a verbose kind of sprawling manner, because there's certain things you just can't address directly. Okay, so I want to be part of YouTube-friendly guidelines, so we'll just leave it at that. But anyway, they lied about a Steele dossier. They lied about Alpha Bank. They lied about memos to get the Mueller probe special counsel going. They couldn't find anything. They can't find anything with his tax returns. They can't find anything with the Southern District of New York with his tax returns, and also with in elevating or inflating his net worth or the values of his real estate. They can't find any campaign finance. They couldn't find any campaign finance violation. They can't find anything in January. He didn't organize any plot to overthrow anything. These are the fever dreams of Democrats, and they don't get it. They don't understand that all the economic hardships that are taking place right now are taking place because tens of millions of people were duped into believing that Trump was installed by another government, and that there was such chaos and mayhem in Washington, D.C., yet we had a great economy. The chaos and mayhem took place because morally superior liberal Democrats, journalists, who are all wonderful liberal Democrats, felt that the sky was falling. And how many leaks did you get? How many unnamed sources, current and former U.S. officials? You get none of those articles now. All you had for 4 years was anonymously sourced articles talking about how Trump and his administration, everything was just about to crumble, the sky was falling, but we had a great economy. We had hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs. We had record low Black and Latino unemployment, record low unemployment nationally. We had a great foreign policy. We had economic growth, which is what helped our foreign policy. We had a president who had a vision. We have a president now who has no vision at all. Mashed potato brains went into the Oval Office without any economic or foreign policy vision. That's why we have high gas prices. He didn't foresee what took place with what's taking place in Europe. That's why he waived sanctions on Nord Stream 2. Okay? The man waived sanctions on Nord Stream 2 and doubled imports from you-know-where of crude oil. And then we see what's taking place. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. There's enough, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the Director of National Intelligence, former Director of National Intelligence. Now, if Democrats trusted James Clapper, they should definitely trust John Ratcliffe. Or is it only a person in a position of authority can be biased if they're siding with Trump? So appeals to authority only work if the individual sides with Democrats. Otherwise, you can't appeal to authority with John Ratcliffe. That's the mentality on the left. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I'll be back in about